Well, hello, good evening, welcome back. I'm fashionably late to the comms. My hot chocolate was a priority. Seems like we need it in this weather. Rain is falling, as you can all see. Intermediates on the car for IIRacingLeague. How are we all doing today on this fine Thursday evening? Or whatever time zone you are in watching. Evening to you, TD, Novatech Snacks. Joseph Hales. Welcome on in. And to all 13 people watching, I hope you are all really, really well. Round 17. Just seemed like yesterday the season was getting underway. Season 4, what a season it has been. Thoroughly successful. We have one champion crowned this week. 1010 became the no assist champion because John unfortunately couldn't make it on Tuesday night. So congratulations 1010. A champion can be crowned today if certain things happen. We'll tell you about that in a little bit. And this week the Assist Tier 2 Championship could very well be decided. So Spain could be the decisive week for a lot of championships. Intermediate tyres for everyone. Evening Rids, evening High and Spice, evening CTFD. Welcome on in. Hope you're really well. Hope you're all having an amazing week. Spain track, we know by now. Not too many changes apart from the addition of turn 10, which is not a hairpin anymore. 1010 retiring in the pits is starting at the back on purpose, just in case you're wondering if he's crashed out or not. So that is a choice. Oh, and Ross, really good save. Just shows in wet conditions, try and stay off those curbs as much as possible. And Ross sends us on our way with 24.9. Who knows if that's good or not? Let's be honest. I've not memorised the intermediate quali pace at this track on this game. Guilty as charged. CT is also champion if we are honest. It's not mathematical yet, but all CT needs, I think, is 2 points or 3 points on Sunday, and he will be crowned champion. So there's always a chance, Novatech, but as you say, looking very likely. PU died again, says 1010. That's not good. That's Killian sets the pace with 24.6. Got to be honest. You can be honest as all you want, as long as you are also honest in the sense that it is still mathematically possible for you to win it. So as long as you're being honest in both regards, that's absolutely fine. Hales goes quickest so far with an improved 24.6. Deflateaway slots in the middle of that little cluster there on a 24.7. Exotic Planes flexing a little bit on a 24.2. Chaz doing well at the moment, 25.0. Asthma Frog, Hissy Snacks and RP1 Ice round out the top 10. Smaller Smiley's just popped into 5th, that's why the order has just shuffled down a little bit. And it's a huge welcome back to RP1 Ice. Has raced in this league before, but has had quite a lengthy bit of a break. Last raced at Season 2, Round 1 in Bahrain, which happened on the 24th of March last year. So it's been a good 14 months since RP1 Ice has completed a lap here in IRL. So And a happy IRL debut to Stone Shuffle, a friend of Smaller Smiley and Asthma Frog. So welcome to IRL, Stone Shuffle. I hear you're a very class person, so lovely to have you on board. Hope you have a fantastic IRL debut, whether you're watching this or not. And just heading round on their outlap. P16 at the moment, obviously Q1, 18 minutes long, bottom 5 will drop out. We already know 1010's one of those. Let's go on board then with Stone Shuffle for his first lap in the league. Super tentative for the first couple of corners. Not even hit max throttle since braking for turn 1. Shout out Troublemaker for bearing her child. I think she has to have a shout out for putting up with you as well. Don't worry, chat, I know him. I feel uniquely qualified to insult you. Very smooth from Stone Shuffle. No real wiggles or snaps of oversteer, so has a pretty good control on that car. Even in Steely. Hope you're well, buddy. How are you doing today? Anyone who plays the F1 game will know that when in quali on wet compound tyres, the tyre wear is just not quite as high as the dry compound, so you can shove, say, 5 or 6 laps of fuel in, go for 3 or 4 runs, and you know, see what lap time you can produce. So it's not like the dries where you have one shot and if you mess it up you're kind of in trouble for the next run. You can kind of do 3 or 4 laps in a row here and just see what happens. Because your vast majority of practice, as we see a McLaren spinning, that will be Asthma Frog. Yeah, your second or third lap in wet conditions generally seem to be a bit more faster. All your practice, say 95% of it, will be in dry conditions, so you just need a few laps to adapt to the wet. Stone Shuffle there with a 7/10 improvement, proving my point, thankfully. If he went slower, then my point would be made redundant, and that would be a shame. McLaren, you meant the Mercedes. I swear I said Mercedes. You know what I mean anyway. Exotic at the top at the moment, 124.2. I said McLaren, apologies. I saw Mercedes. Top Gun goes fastest, and I imagine that will see him safely through into the next part of qualifying. Hissy, nice to have Hissy back. Last raced in round 13 at Bahrain, so has missed the past 4 races. Missed the past 3 races even. And this and next lap invalidated, so Hissy will have a warm down lap, recharge the battery, and I imagine he'll go again. His time is the one to beat, so a little bit of pressure on for Hissy right now. Greg's on a slow lap, so this one won't be representative. Just in the final sector at the same time there. That's very congested, and if you mess up your lap, not only are you going to have to slow down and recharge the battery, but you're going to have to get out of the way of an awful lot of people. So potentially could get some stewards' inquiries after the race about people blocking each other. Obviously that's the last thing you want. Oh, and deflated. Nice catch there, but unfortunately this lap will not be the one he's hoping for. See what he can do in his Mercedes. So chat, I want to know, how do you enjoy the Spanish circuit? Are you enjoying the fact that this season we will have changed Sector 3? Final chicane will be taken out and we'll take to that road just on the left of your screen as we talk. We will be using that faster layout. Track times will be down quicker, that means. And potentially we might see a bit more action coming out of the final corner. A little bit easier to follow some of the cars perhaps than in the chicanes. Smaller Smiley, 8th fastest at the moment. Josh pops up in there into 2nd place in on his last run. Snacks has improved to 5th. TD sitting very nicely in P10 at the moment. And slowing to a complete halt as he gets ready to go again. Tyres may have cooled down slightly. Spain is bad, next season way better, says Novatech. Well, we'll have to wait and see if the Spanish updated track is on the next game. It should be, but I don't know for sure. TD's backed off, rocking a new helmet for every race. This one more reminiscent of a fire in the cockpit with that red and yellow design. Pick up then with Stone Shuffle, hoping to shuffle his way nicely up that leaderboard into the top 15. Snack says, surprised I got best sector 1. Only 3 1/4 tenths away from pole, so it's not too surprising. Aya has retired in the pits. Has he? Yes, on track. On the track map, it looks like he retired in the pits, but it's just a little bit too soon for the pit lane to start, so I wanted to get some confirmation there. But yes, Aya has lost traction at the final corner, hit the wall, and obviously is out as we have a spinning Alpine, and that will be TD. No, it would be Killian. Everyone making a few mistakes now and again. We can let them off. Wet conditions. Checker flag falls. Aya is 15th at the moment. He won't be able to drive in Q2 because of that retirement. However, might start 15th if Greg, Stone Shuffle and Ice can't improve, and unfortunately for Ice, that will be it. He'll start 18th, and as you can already see, both Alfa Romeos have finished their session, and both miss out on a spot in Q2. So everyone in the top 14 is through. Exotic goes fastest. And Hissy, controlled slide into the pits, nicely done. So 10-10, starting last. Padge retiring earlier on in the session in P19. RP1 Ice there on the spin on his final run. Will finish and start Grand Prix in 18th place. Stone Shuffle on his debut, P17, but not too far away from Greg, his teammate, who starts in 16th. And perhaps a little bit of a surprise, Little Chaz has gone quickest. No, I believe not, Aya, because you had terminal damage and the car completely crashed. Unless you hit the wall and then retired on purpose, like manually. Information about our races. I did not see your little donuts, TD. Thank you very much, Steely. And exclamation mark standings in the chat for the updated standings. 2 rounds to go then, and Spain has kicked off with a bang with some wet weather, and it's a sea of blue, ironically, in the top 10 and top 11. All the blue cars seem to be occupying those positions. 1010 Padge, Ice, Stone Shuffle, Greg, and their confirmation Aya, unfortunately, will be heading out in Q1. Unfortunately, after last week, Killian finds himself 53 points off the top, which means with only 2 rounds remaining, even if he wins with fastest lap today and next week in Japan, unfortunately, he cannot win the championship mathematically. So, shame for Killian. The championship is now down to the top 2. Josh is leading the championship by 17 points. Last week, Josh beat Wheat to the win in Portimao to extend the lead by another 6 points, which means if Deflated doesn't win today, it's going to be a really tall order for him to win this championship next week in Japan. The only thing that Deflated can hope for is either that he finishes 3rd or lower with Wii winning the race, or Josh finishes even lower than 3rd, regardless of where Deflated finishes. But Deflated needs to outscore Josh tonight to still have a chance. Josh, if he can outscore Wii tonight, it's looking extremely likely that he will be back-to-back Assist Tier 1 champion. Enjoy your bread, Aya. Hope you get some nice bread. Driver's already on laps. And kicking us off is Snacks on the medium compound, 18.2. Pole position time on Tuesday night was a 16.6 by Top Gun, who is currently on an outlap. Wonder if he will beat that tonight. Ross does a 17.6, and so does Asthma Frog, only 6 milliseconds behind Ross, who has the most points, most wins, most podiums in IIRL. Hissy goes 3rd fastest, 18.1. And Squire, reserving tonight, does a 17.9 and puts himself in 3rd place. Exotic on the medium compound matches Allied Squire's time, which is pretty good going, only 3/10 away from those top runners. Joseph Hales, 18.1 on the mediums as well, that's not too shabby. Killian also using the medium compound, so a lot of drivers want to, if they can, save a set of soft tyres for Q3 and then the race. Killian does a 17.9 and goes the fastest medium run in the early stages of Q2. That's good going there from Killian. Ahead of him might get a nice handy slipstream coming down the back straight in towards on turn 10. Top Gun set an absolutely blistering final sector to do the 16.6 on Tuesday night, and this looks pretty good if you ask me. Would not be surprised if this was a low 17 here, and it is a 17.3 to kick off Q2. 10 times on the board, 4 yet to set times. Deflated's starting his first run in anger. TD, Josh, Smiley, all on outlaps as we speak. Everyone else apart from 2 in the pits. So track pretty quiet out there. It's good news for those bottom 4. Pushing every track limit possible, Deflated. Thought for 2 or 3 moments in this lap that he was going to run over and get invalidated, but hasn't. This lap does look good. Opting for 4th through the chicane. A lot of people opt for 3rd gear. I guess 4th gear is as good as anything else, and Deflated Wee goes P4 with that lap. That lap. TD in the first sector, having a bit of a spin. He'll back off and go again, I imagine. Smaller Smiley there, just edging onto the inside curb of turn 12. Had to correct the car from escaping into a snap of oversteer. Will have cost him a tiny bit of time, but still 18-0, not too bad at this gesture. Let's go on then with the current AT1 champion, and the person at the moment likely to get a 2nd championship. Chaz goes 2nd fastest on a 17.3, 4 milliseconds away from Top Gun. That is a pretty good lap, if you ask me. Are you streaming tonight, Steely? Hopefully I've asked that question before you've gone. Evening, Patch. Tell us, Patch, how are those wet conditions in Q1? Get back here now. Josh goes quickest. 17.2. Very nicely done. Proving why he is the current and likely AT1 champion for this season. Terrible conditions. I know there's a lot of talk about this track not having enough grip anyways. I imagine in the wet conditions it's magnified, multiplied. And I imagine the grip levels are very, very poor. TD then back-to-back runs on this same set of soft compound tyre. May not be the quickest time TD can produce on these soft compounds, but he'll give it a good go. I know TD is nothing if not tenacious. Pretty good chicane. Shifts up to 4th early. Swings it round the final corner, and it's a 17.7, so P6 for TD right now. Pretty good going, if you ask me. Exotic Plains, 17.1. Quickest time we have seen today so far. Joseph Hales across the line to do a 17.0. I think the track is getting better. People are finding more grip, more confidence. Finding it easier to put the power down after that rainy Q1. I'm thrown off, there's only 14 in this session. Six-plus way fight for pole, 100%. Never know. Q3 is where the pressure really hits, and sometimes that pressure takes its toll. Sometimes people thrive under pressure. Sometimes they really struggle. You see 22.2 in the opening. Matches his personal best as Ross retires on track and has crashed. in Sector 3. That is a shock. You can tell he's crashed because that 1 minute 17.6 is right in the middle of Killian and Squire. That's how you can tell they've crashed out. And uncharacteristically for IIRacingLeague, will not be in Q3. Just on the right hand side of the track is where he crashed there. Those wondering, that's Hissy. It's a pretty good lap, but how fast is it? Across the line. 17.8 puts himself into the top 10. Oh, Snacks with a big slide. That's going to cost him a lot of time. Still up by half a second. On for a 17.7 if he carries on the way he is. People near the top starting to retire. Exotic, Top Gun, happy with their times. Confident they won't get knocked out in Q2. Snacks goes P6. Finds some more time in that final sector. Puts him up there with Top Gun, Chaz and Josh. That's good going. Joseph Hale's already better than my NA front row time. Of course, setting that in Q3 on Tuesday night. But that's hope for Q3. If you can do a 17.0 here. So you have a spinning AlphaTauri of Snacks. Hissy is retired early, so he will start 11th at best. Just needs to hope that Killian, Squire and Smaller can't go quicker. As across the line comes Deflated Wee to do a 17.4, puts him in P7 right now. Only a handful out on track. TD's out there as well, hoping to improve. Killian, you'd expect him to go through into Q3, but just depends with one lap shootout. Sometimes you do make a mistake. TD, as it stands, has been pushed out of qualifying. Snacks comes into the pits. Allied Squire going up there into 8th place. Nice job. And TD does improve, but not enough to get him into Q3. Killian goes second fastest and pushes Ross into 11th. Asthma Frog is still through as things stand, but one man can change that. Here comes Smaller, and 13th fastest is only the best that he can manage, which means Asthma Frog does get through into Q3. And just look how close that is. 8 tenths separating the top 14. And the top 10 separated by just 6 tenths of a second. Very, very close. So Joseph Hales leads us in Q2. 17.0. I imagine next session 16s will be flooding in on our screens. As we say, 6 tenths separating the top 10. Ross there with that crash halfway through the session. Would have been out anyway if he finished 10th. TD will start 12th on the grid. Smaller Smiley 13th. And Hissy, in his first race in 4 weeks, will be starting in 14th place on Spanish Grand Prix. It's not a pad track, TD. That's the excuse that we can give. Nah, TD's not washed. He's quicker than the pair of us, Novatek. You want. Let's start then with Joseph Hales. And let's go on board. See what Joseph can manage. Did a 17.0 in Q2. Hasn't been into the 1 minute 16s yet this week. Certainly not in league racing. Can he manage it? 21.9 in the first. So far so good. Everyone out on track. You can see there in Sector 1 as people starting their times. They have got plenty of space as they all backed up and waited for some space in Sector 3 on their outlap. Nice and committed through turn 9. Double shift from 3rd to 5th. Keeps it in 5th around the very long turn 12. And nicely done on the chicane. Final corner nice and tight, making the track as narrow as possible. And there is the 16 that we were possibly expecting. Killian, though, is one to outdo another driver. 16.8. Chaz does a 17.3 and matches what he did last session. Asthma Frog also does a 17.3, and Snacks out of the chicane gets a bit of a wiggle going on, and that may halter his progress. 23 anyway, so he just backed off and's going for another run as we speak. Top Gun can't replicate his 16.6 at the moment. That one is 0.6 off as the Flitterwee matches him and goes P4. Just Josh and Squire to go in the opening round of laps, plus a second run from Snacks inbound as well. So far, Killian, the one to beat, but this looks quick from Josh. It's a 17.0, so not too far away. Remember, Josh doesn't need to win this race, he just needs to outscore Deflated. Squire, 17.2, pops himself in between Top Gun and Deflated. Somehow, he's put his Red Bull in that 7 millisecond gap. That's pretty impressive if you ask me. So let's have a check in with Snacks then on his second run. And Snacks goes 9th, and somehow fits himself into an even smaller window between Chaz and Asthma Frog. And that just shows how close it is. 4.5 tenths separate the top 10. Everyone seems to be hitting some good form going into Q3. Everyone now back in the pits. Snacks will be on the way. Get a new set of tyres on the car. Joseph back out on track as we speak. No, 0.132 even. That's how close it is between the second row of the grid and the fifth row of the grid. And the chat in Discord echoing exactly the same level of shock and surprise that the gaps are this close. Out in front, though, it is pretty close between Killian, Joseph and Josh. Obviously Killian out of the title picture, but I'm sure he will be fighting for pride here. Any points he can gain on Josh and we in the final couple of rounds, he will do it to make that gap seem a little bit better than what it currently looks. Through the first sector then, Joseph Hales almost identical to his personal best last time around. Can any of those bottom 7 pop in with a 16 lap time and challenge for pole position? Joseph Hales finding time in Sector 2. Using as much track as possible through 10. Gets the car turned in beautifully for turn 13. Chicane looked good enough. This could be provisional pole. Needs a 10th. And gets a 10th. 16.8. Joseph Hales. Provisional pole. Top Gun, though, got pole position on Tuesday. Very much able to pop himself in the mix. Is starting a new lap as we speak. I got a bit too excited there. Oh, I hate that phrase, let him cook. I think everyone is just so overused. No offence, of course. Top Gun 21.9 in the first, matching Joseph Hales. A little bit slower than Joseph if we're looking at hundredths of a second, but good enough to pop himself up in the challenge for pole. Through the middle. 3.5 tenths. Good enough for a 0.9. Still needs at least a 10th in this final sector. Top Gun then, will it be back-to-back pole positions? No, at least not for the time being. 10th off of the pace. Joseph Hales is getting quicker, and that has been a bit of a theme for this season. Not, of course, that he was slow in the first half of the season, but certainly the second half, Joseph has shown up. Got the win in Hungary. Since then, has not looked back, has definitely shown potential that he could hang with the big boys next season. Being up for their final flying runs. It's all come down to this. Top Gun unfortunately won't get pole for the second time this week. Who will? Everyone back out on track. Josh kicks us off. What can he manage? Let's have a look. Doesn't go over the apex of turn 2. I've seen some people do that tonight, some people haven't though. Very tight through turn 3. Make the track as narrow as possible. A 22.0, so a 10th off of what Joseph and Top Gun managed in the first sector. This is where setup choice comes into it. Do you run lower wings and get more straight line speed, or do you prioritise the cornering? These questions will all be answered in the next few moments. Very committed through 9th. And he's a quarter of a second up. On for a potential 0.7 if he can match or even better his last sector from his personal best. Sticks it in 4th through the chicane, nice and steady. It's a good lap, but how quick is it? It's a 16.7 and goes a 10.5 quickest provisionally. All drivers coming across the line. Little Chaz, great lap there, but Exotic beats him by 2 milliseconds. Exotic takes P2 away from Joseph, and Chaz goes up there into 3rd place. But what about Killian? Asmafrog has finished and deflated on a 17.0. Snacks improves to a 17.2, but can only manage P9 as Killian goes provisional pole in the dying embers of the session. And what can Squire do? That is not going to be his best time. So it's all down to Joseph Hales, and he's not improving. Killian has stolen pole from Josh once again. But more importantly, Josh is 5 places ahead of Deflated. 5 places. As it stands, if this is where they finish in the Grand Prix, Josh will get 18 points. Deflated will get 6 points, which means that would be enough to crown Josh champion tonight. So, for Deflated, needs to have a really strong Grand Prix, but let's have a look at these gaps. 6/10 separating the whole top 10. And the gaps at the very front, the very top of the leaderboard, just indicate who has absolutely nailed their lap time. You can see Killian there, Josh, Exotic Chaz and Joseph all very close. Two tenths separate the top 5. Killian then, pole position number 6 or 7, can't remember which one. Very impressive stuff. Takes pole at Spanish Grand Prix, has Josh alongside him on the front row. Should lead for an interesting battle into turn 1. Exotic, Chaz, Joseph, Top Gun, Wee, Asmafrog, Snacks and Squire round out the top 10. As we said, only 6/10 separating that top 10. And I imagine this is possibly going to be the closest Grand Prix we've had in recent memory. Basically, my internet doesn't run at high bitrate, and then since they've changed all the settings in Twitch, 480p is only the best I can do, I'm afraid. And here we go for the Spanish Grand Prix. 2 rounds to go, and this is where the points are won. Killian, great start, and pulls out to the inside, just like we see in real life, to defend into the opening corner. Josh breaks as late as he possibly can to try and get a sight around the outside. We got Padge just a little bit behind off the back of the pack. People side by side through the opening couple of corners. But everyone has got out of there pretty well. 2, sometimes 3 wide there into turn 4. As they go, and Deflated making up a place up to P6 now, but a little bit of congestion ahead of him. He's got Chaz in that Aston Martin, perhaps just being a little bit of a hindrance immediately in front of him. But Killian has got away scot-free and starting to build a gap now. No, it's always been 480p, sorry Roro. I am moving house in about 6 or 7 weeks, roughly. I've got a house viewing on Friday. If that works well, then potentially could be moving in July. So next season, we might have some better stream quality. Opening lap then, and everyone is in a nice big train. Always lovely to see. And here is the tyre situation, as we have Wee and Top Gun side by side, both on the hard compounds. Ross making it 3 wide. He's on the mediums down the inside, bit of contact. Top Gun forced to go over the inside curb, and thankfully no real issues there except for Ross, who has lost ground. Bit of contact, more contact between Wee and Top Gun, and there goes TD on the double. And Top Gun really struggling at the moment. He's lost out to Snacks too. All the other streams on the channel, apart from 81, are in 1080p. I believe, or 720, so maybe that's what... Maybe that's something you haven't noticed until now. Everyone else isn't in 480p. Just me. I mean, I can try it for next week if you want. Oh, and spinning we have Snacks. Exit curb on the chicane. And one mistake and you're punished. Oh no, I've been 480p since they've done the change on Xbox. So a couple of small mistakes in the opening few laps. Ross threatening to make it 3 wide into the first corner, but that didn't work and he had to back out and lost a whole load of time. Snacks with that little spin in the chicane. But still, everyone in a big queue. Handful of people on the mediums. Obviously TD making up 2 places last lap. Running highest in P6, RP1 Ice as well. On his first race in 14 months in the league. Medium Compound up to P11. Stone Shuffle up a couple of places to 16th for my Ross J with that big fall a few laps ago. Running in last at the moment. Yeah, I'm able to do that, Roro, but my internet just isn't good enough to do it. Otherwise, I would be doing that. Hales sets the new fastest lap of the race, 20.9. I imagine that will be beaten at some point in the race, but he is gaining ground on Josh. Out in the foreground, you've got RP1 Ice. Getting past Squire. Oh, and Ice just accidentally squeezing Squire off track slightly. No harm done. In fact, Squire says, right, I'll go for a switchback then. If that's how you're going to drive. A little bit of contact. Nothing too malicious in that. Oh, Roro, my internet provider is not good. Tell me. Like, the customer service is awful. So I think it's pretty much impossible to have worse Wi-Fi than what I have currently. But that is the plan, streaming from the PC. No, I'm on Shell Energy, and they're absolutely dreadful. Ten, decent start. Started 20th, now up to 15th. His teammate Padge had just lost a place to Ross. TD and deflated. Fighting. Aya spinning at turn 2. And now down to last. RP1 Ice as well, spinning in turn 3. So lap 5 has not been good for both of them. As Hissy gets past Snacks. Stone Shuffle now up to 14th. Greg up to P12. Mr. Consistent, as we always call him. Maybe in 5 or 10 years they might be alright, Roro, but for now, no. Let's just put it this way. My download speed is at 50 megabytes per second, which isn't too bad, but compared to like BT, they're into the hundreds, and my upload speed is only 7. And I know a lot of people are above 10, so, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, fingers crossed. I'm very optimistic for better Wi-Fi in the new house. Ten, past Greg. 12th place now for the NA champion for Season 4. But the pace has been very consistent since. Nothing really to separate that top 5. TD trying to use those medium tyres to get in DRS range, but obviously with those top 5 all having DRS, TD's job without DRS has been made a little bit harder. Oh, I have. I've got an Ethernet cable. But nothing seems to be working, I'm afraid. Exotic the one to slip back a little bit on this lap. Lap 6. And Joseph perhaps could be the one to be making moves. Closest he's been to Josh now. Yeah, my Ethernet cable provides some stability for me, which is good, but the upload speed is obviously down to the Wi-Fi. Which, you know, 7 is... It's okay, I can stream and it's clear and it's not buggy or glitchy, but yeah, just got to make do with the 480p for now. Check in with this battle then for P6. TD defending from deflated. It's a bit of a tongue twister. Top Gun. Flying away, oh, and that's a bit of damage perhaps. Oh, and he's beached. You can reset to track there, that is allowed. So that is not a an illegal move there from Top Gun, who does let Hissy through. Yeah, we say if you are beached like that, you can reset to track. Josh makes his way past Killian in the opening corner. Change for the lead of the race. First change in this Grand Prix. And we did hint in qualifying that this could be the closest Grand Prix we've seen. So far we have 5 drivers battling it out for 3 podium spaces. Obviously with Top Gun's mistake at turn 11, that has now given TD and Deflated a little bit more breathing room. TD is losing a little bit of ground to the top 5, but without DRS that's understandable. Oh, and TD's had a bit of an off at turn 11 as well. This then releases Deflated, and if we want any shot at getting this Assist Tier 1 championship this season, he needs to outscore Josh. At the moment, Josh will be champion. However, a move by Killian, returning the favour into turn 1. Killian retakes the lead. And we have Ross spinning at the final corner. It's not quite been Ross's day today so far. Joseph Hales looking to get past Josh, which obviously would be a really good piece of news for Deflated. Ross has retired in the pits. Shame you don't see that very often. Hard to predict where this race is going to go. Will there be any safety cars? Oh, Ally Squire. Bit of a mistake. I don't think it was a full spin, but I think he had a huge snap and had to slow down to get the car under control, and he's lost places to TD 1010 and Smaller Smiley, so down to 11th, and Squire has pitted. No front wing change for Allied, but he is onto a new set of medium compound tyres. Back on board then with the top 5. Chaz doing well to hang with these guys. We all know how quick Killian, Josh, Joseph, Exotic are, but Chaz being very new to the league, just 16 years of age, has shown some really good promise. And even if he doesn't get on the podium tonight, a P5 or a P4 will be really good in terms of confidence for maybe next season. Chaz just throwing out the hook and seeing what tugs back, what bites back on the end of that hook. Seeing where he can hang in this Assist Tier 1, very competitive division. A division that this season has been utterly dominated by Killian, Josh and Deflated. Killian, obviously, as we say, is out of the title picture now. But I'm sure Killian will be back in Season 5, ready to go again. Josh, obviously, if he manages to win it this season, will be a 2-time champion. There's only one other 2-time champion in this league, and that is IIRacingLeague. Exotic, Chaz, no championships in this league so far, but definitely seem to have the pace to get on the podium here tonight. A reminder, Josh leads Deflated by 17 points. We head into Japan next week for the final round, as we have Snacks spinning at turn 8 and losing a couple of places behind Ice now into 17th. So if Josh finishes second, he will get 18 points. Deflated will get 8 points for finishing 6th. Which means outscoring by 10 points, Josh will win the championship as things stand. Deflated needs to hope that if he finishes 6th, Josh finishes 3rd or lower to keep the championship fight going to next week. But the last thing that Josh wants is to get involved in any kind of incident whatsoever with these drivers around him. One incident may give him either a time penalty at the end of the race or send him back down the field after being pushed off, spun, crashed, whatever. That is the worst possible outcome for Josh. Snacks has called it quits after that mistake. And that is the thing, one mistake in this tier will send you down to 14th, 15th place, and without any chance of points unless a safety car comes out. That is just the reality of how fast and consistent this Assist Tier 1 division really is. Leaders start lap 13, still a 5-way fight for the win. However, there's been no moves for the leads in the last 3 or 4 laps. Everyone being patient. Everyone managing their ERS, I imagine. Snacks, that's a shame, mate. There is a common theme on this track that it doesn't give as much grip as it probably should. So, yeah, that's not your fault, mate. Obviously, hard luck. Hope you join us for Japan, though, next week for the final round of the season. Got it on all tracks. That is odd. Maybe it's something in your wheel settings, you never know. Maybe try doing a few tweaks and see what happens. Happy you got the beta. Well, I'll be trusting you to make sure the game is lovely and ready for when I eventually buy it. That 14, and I imagine these 5 are going to monotonously carry on as they are, so let's join another fight. Oh, TD pits. Oh, and that's a big mistake. Wow. TD will hate me, the fact I got that on stream. He will utterly hate me. But I think that's the best bit of action we've had so far in this race. Mexico showed it can pay off to keep driving, certainly. It's always my motto: if a race doesn't happen the way you want it to, keep driving. If people in front of you retire, you might still grab a point or two, who knows. Or you can always have some fun and go for the fastest lap. But each to their own. So 10-10 started at the very back. Won't be doing a last to first challenge unless the safety car comes out to really aid his progress. Certainly 10th to 8th. Not too shabby from the new NA champion. Asthma Frog, under the radar here, but having a sterling race up there in P7. Ahead of his teammate and good friend Smaller Smiley, who is fighting here to get past 10-10. He is gaining, not using any ERS, but has the rear wing open. Bursting stands not quite close enough to the back of 10-10. That Ferrari-powered Haas car. Hissy, first race in 4 weeks and running in the points. Pit stops for Ice and Top Gun this lap, and TD obviously made a pit stop last time. So Hissy may not be in a net P10, but certainly might get close to getting some points tonight. Does need to hold off the likes of Greg Stone Shuffle, who has had a really good first stint on those medium compound tyres, and Padge as well, who's at the back of that train. Padge just getting out of the slipstream of Stone Shuffle, so I imagine the tyres are getting a little bit warm. Maybe the tyre pressures are a bit too high. As we say, pit stops from TD, Ice and Top Gun. Yet to see where they're going to filter back into the action. Stone Shuffle pits. Good solid stint on those medium compound. He'll be onto the hard compound for the rest of the Grand Prix. Another 17 laps or so for Stone Shuffle to complete his first race in the league. Squire, Aya, near the back, have already made pit stops in this Grand Prix, but so far hasn't been their day. They'll need to be praying pretty quickly for a safety car. And still that top 5, no change in position, no change in time delta. Deflated is starting to gain though, 1.7 now behind. Could we see a late charge from Deflated to rescue the championship perhaps, or keep himself in the title hunt? Still the battle rages with 10-10, Smaller Smiley. Smaller content maybe just to sit behind and get the DRS and force 10-10 into getting a time penalty or making a mistake. Smaller Smiley, I'm sure, will have been thinking about a potential undercut opportunity as well. What lap can he pit to try and get an undercut on 10-10? Is there a gap he can fit his car into? You can see behind him on track, there are more gaps on track for that to be a reasonable strategy choice. Killian leads, has led every lap bar one. Go on board with Deflated. He's just set his personal best through the middle sector. He's dumped all of his ERS as Stone Shuffle gets past TD, who was at a spin on the third corner. And there you can see Deflated is gaining. Thought about a pit stop. Joseph and Exotic pit. With Joseph and Exotic running 3rd and 4th, that means Chaz is now out of DRS of the top 2. Might give a bit more incentive to Deflated to try and close that gap. Or will Chaz put the hammer down, spend some of this ERS, try and get within DRS range of the top 2? This race has just become interesting. Only took 18 laps. But when all these drivers are this quick and this consistent, there's not going to be as many overtakes, but the consistency is fantastic to watch. Chaz in DRS range and keeps the DRS advantage that he had before Exotic and Joseph made their pit stops last lap. And the question is, how many of these top 3 will be pitting this lap? They've got to react to the pit stops made, and they've got to make sure they don't get undercut. In comes Killian, Josh stays out, and Chaz stays out. What about Deflated? He's into the pits. Asthma Frog remains on track to inherit 3rd place. 1010 stays out, so does Smaller Smiley. What about this group then? Hissy stays out, Greg dives into the pits, and Joseph Hales may have got held up slightly in that final sector, and this undercut opportunity on Killian may have just gone a little bit astray. You can see Killian through the first corner. Joseph Hales is about 2 seconds behind. So Joseph has been held up. Deflated is past Padge, and Exotic has lost a whole chunk of time. And a bit of a slide through turn 2. I wonder if Exotic on his outlap has had a spin. But that has put him now into the grips of the likes of Greg. Stone Shuffle. Huge mistake from Exotic as Josh pits. Chaz stays out and leads the race. TD into the pits, as you can see, with 5-second penalty for speeding, where he retires. Smaller, Asthma Frog, sorry, into the pits as well. 1010 and Smaller stay out to inherit 2nd and 3rd. And here comes Killian in the background. And there is Josh. And the overcut has worked, but obviously Killian's tyres are up to temperature. And not the trickiest of moves from Killian. Josh did make that overcut work really nicely as Killian was getting his tyres up to temperature, but now once again nothing to separate them. Joseph Hales 1.4 behind Josh. I mean, we don't know if they've got any damage going on. Some people just decide if they have a bit of a mistake and the race isn't going the way they want. Sometimes they just call it quits. Completely up to the driver. All we say is, if you do want to throw in the towel a little bit earlier, just do it in the pits so it doesn't bug the game or cause any problems. 1010 stays out another lap to start lap 21, and this time he will be leading the Grand Prix. Chaz boxes, comes out of the pits ahead of Joseph. That is a successful undercut for Chaz. Joseph, though, obviously he's been on those tyres 3 laps already, so they're nice and warm. and could be sizing Aston Martin up for a move. That would be a shame, TD, if you didn't race next week. We always love having you out on track. Oh, big mistake from Joseph! Corrected it just in the nick of time, but he has lost the place to Deflated. That is bad news for Josh, with Exotic falling down the leaderboard. And Deflated now ahead of Joseph. The title will not be sorted today. It will go to next week. And I think Joseph's AI is pitting him again. This is so unlucky. This happened on Tuesday, if you didn't see. Joseph was leading the race by a good 6 seconds. He disconnected after his scheduled pit stop. The AI has pitted him again, and it is a repeat for Joseph Hales. TD might have got 1010 might have got a warning there for coming out on the pit entry line. Game froze. That is so unlucky, Joseph. Top 2 as they were. Killian leads Josh. Thank you for the follow, Nathan Lunn 29. Hope you're really well. Oh, my follow's not coming up. Maybe you've already followed. But hello, welcome to the chat. If you are new around here, we are IIRL. Exclamation mark IIRL in the chat for more details. If you want to check out the standings, exclamation mark standings in the chat as well. It will give you a link. But Josh leads Deflated Wii in the championship by 17 points. We have 2 rounds remaining, today at Spain and next week at Japan. As things stand, Josh will extend his lead. But it won't be enough to win the championship today. But it will mean that Josh will only need a handful of points next week in Japan to claim back-to-back Assist Tier 1 championships. Deflated, though, is on a remarkable comeback drive. When you think he was in 7th place and a good 10 seconds, maybe 13 seconds off the lead about 12 laps ago, to be within 4 seconds of the lead is remarkable. And there's still hope for Deflated to actually outscore Josh, which is what he needs to do. Lost force feedback and my game just stopped, like the screen froze. If I were you, I would do, after this game, I would just do a complete reset of everything. Go into your wheel settings, jot down everything that you've got, do a complete reset, set it up again and just see if it works, because this is twice now that you're on for a really good result and something has screwed you over. Thanks for the welcome. Just started F1 2022 streaming. Hopefully you can get some live streams done. Mate, best of luck with that. We have someone in our league who is new to streaming as well, as we have Chaz, who looks the likely one to be making a move here. Yeah, the start of your streaming career can be the most exciting because you're starting something new, learning some new skills. It also can be very frustrating when you don't get the viewers or the attention or the notice that you want. But keep going with it, Nathan. All the best, mate. In fact, everyone go follow Nathan. Just click that little heart button on the screen. That will drop him a follow, really help him out. If you're watching on catch up, It'll be in the chat. Go over there, drop a follow, why not? Chaz, in case people don't know, is his second race in AT1. Last week, can't remember where he finished, but it was somewhere out of the points, I think. So the fact he's challenging here Josh, who is the reigning Assist Tier 1 champion, is really impressive stuff. 8 laps remaining. Exotic has called it quits a little bit early. Deflated is dropping back. 1.8 now. He's comfortably ahead of Asthma Frog, who may in a few laps' time have 10-10 for company. Certainly Deflated has done a really good job at damage limitation tonight. Appreciate that, Rids. Can always count on you. And thank you for the raid, Exotic Planes. Such a shame your race didn't go as planned. But thank you very much for the raid. Appreciate that. We will be raiding after this stream, so stick around to the end. A mistake for Hissy in the final corner. Just losing some traction. And that possible points finish he had on the cards has been, his job has been made a lot harder. Needs to catch up then to Stone Shuffle, who's having a really strong debut down there in P12. And Allied Squire in the Red Bull having another spin, unfortunately in Sector 3, currently 15th. Not quite been the race that he was hoping for. Lap 27, Killian not weaving, just moving out of the way to try and break that slipstream. Try and give Josh and Chaz as little opportunity to overtake as they can. As Allied Squire just struggling again. Warm tyres, I imagine. And these top 3 rapidly approaching to lap Allied Squire, who does get out of the way, either intentionally or through a mistake, who knows. Deflator Week catching back up again. 1.4 was 1.8 behind, now closing the gap by 0.4 of a second. Can he get within DRS range and mount a challenge for the race win? Asthma Frog, really, really impressive stuff. Has gone under the radar, I will not lie. However, P5 in this tier around these races is really, really good, holding off the newly crowned NA champion, no assist champion for season 4, 10-10. Smaller Smiley, solid P7, and Padge running up there in the points. P8, as others have made mistakes and have retired in the pits, Padge has been consistent out there and will get some points for the Haas garage. Greg defending from Joseph Hales and Top Gun down there in P9. Interesting to see which one of those 3 will miss out on a point. Asthma Frog, oh, right as I was bigging him up, has had a mistake and has lost ground to 10-10 and his teammate. Still comfortably ahead of Padge, but just a few less points for Asthma as things stand. Joseph and Greg battling. Joseph had the inside line into turn 1. Here comes Top Gun now looking for a move round the outside of turn 3. This would be special if he can pull this off. He is partially ahead. He's allowed the space and Greg gives it. But Top Gun just had the better exit on the outside of turn 5. And that is a really good overtake from Top Gun, but unfortunately for Greg, he has Just slipped out of the points. Needs to hope that one of these two ahead of him gets a time penalty. Deflated now, 1.3 behind the top three. Podium still on the cards, but needs to get within that DRS range ASAP. Bit of a problem for Hissy. Just had a bit of a moment through turn 9. And a good battle forming between the two Mercedes drivers. Battle for 6th. However, in the last few laps, let's reconnect with the top 3. Positions on the podium are up for grabs here, and it looks like Chaz is really comfortable on these medium compounds. Allied Squire, first time penalty of the race on lap 29. That's pretty good going, if you ask me. It won't matter too much for Allied Squire. Did I not see what happened to you? No, I didn't, Exotic. You're off, because I give up with this game. I'll send in what happened in later, because it's BS from the game. Yeah, just make sure you do that in enough time. But yeah, obviously if something's happened to you, then hard luck, mate. Join us next week for Japan, final race of the season. Obviously new to this, is iRacing similar to esports, or is it exactly that? I don't know too much about iRacing. All I know is that you have to pay for it, and it's like a subscription monthly. Excuse me. It's a very different feel to F1. Each to their own. Some people prefer it, some people hate it. Got college that night. That is a shame, Exotic. But yeah, join us next season, mate. Honestly. And don't forget, on Sunday the 4th of June, we will have our first ever Overtake of the Season stream. We're going to watch all 30 or however many clips we've got. We're going to put them into a tier maker, and then at the end of the stream, we're going to be voting for the Overtake of the Season. It's going to be awesome. Sunday the 11th of June, the week after, we will have our Season 4 award stream. Plenty of awards that you can nominate for in the Discord. And we're going to vote live on stream, as we did last season. It's going to be awesome. Make sure you join us for that, Exotic. But thank you very much for this season, Exotic. You've been an absolute legend, and as always. Lap 31 then. And these three are as close as they have ever been in this Grand Prix. They've been monotonously racing, following each other. Killian has done an expert job at leading this Grand Prix, but he's not once got Josh out of DRS range. For 30 laps, Josh has had DRS. And he's only made one overtake, and that was on lap 7, I believe. Since lap 8, Killian has been leading this race, apart from the pit stop strategy, of course. Deflated Wee in the background, getting ever closer. As things stand, the championship will not be decided today. However, Josh will lead by 23 points with one race remaining. Just need to check who's got the fastest lap, actually. It's Top Gun, so no fastest lap point for either Josh or Deflated. Obviously, if Deflated can get ahead of Chaz, that will really help his championship hopes and mean that next week there is a bit less pressure on him. Do people not get stressed, though? Surely we're all competing for something, I'm guessing. We haven't got any prizes at the moment. We don't earn enough from our Twitch revenue. But I guess long term, that's the plan. Earn enough on the streams to be able to give something back in that respect. Can't believe I got you being a turd in the pits. I think it probably was the most dramatic thing that's happened in this Grand Prix, though. Allied Squire, fastest lap of the race. Oh, that is true, actually. Rids and Goldilocks have been amazing since joining our league. They have given prizes for individual races for fastest lap and driver of the day. Most recently, round 14 at Monaco, where they gave a £20 Amazon gift card to the fastest lap winners from each race in the tiers. Final lap of the race. Will Killian win it? Josh, his red light is flashing. He's out of ERS. Killian is flashing too, but Chaz isn't. Is he going for the move? This is the closest race we have seen for a very, very long time. I cannot remember the last time we have had 4 drivers within DRS range the whole race. The 2 Mercedes are battling over 6th and 7th as we speak. That could change. Joseph Hells and Top Gun are battling for 9th as we speak. That could change. And here comes Chaz! Round the outside, perhaps. Watch out for deflated. Chaz off track. No room for the move. Killian, it's been a masterpiece. He's had to defend for the best part of 30 laps from these drivers behind. No mistakes. No doubt about it. Killian reigns in Spain. Josh holds on to P2, and little Chaz, a huge performance. P3 on his second race. Well deserved. Deflated Wheat recovers to 4th after a P7 qualifying and keeps the title going to next week. 1010 finishes in 5th, and Smaller and Asma finishes in 6th and 7th. Padge gets 4 points for the Haas team. Really strong, consistent drive there. Joseph and Top Gun, after problems of their own this race, get some points in the end. Greg misses out on some points, but P11 proving why he is one of the consistent racers in this league. RP1 Ice on his first race in 14 months. Well, doesn't get points for it, but nice to see you back. And I really hope that you come back out on track with us. The game has given driver of the day 10-10 for a P20 to P5 finish. Very strong race from 10-10. Just didn't quite have the pace to challenge for the top 4. They have it, confirmation, 44 minutes and 44 seconds for Killian to take home his, oh goodness, how many races has he won this season? His 6th race win of the season. Actually now, in Assist Tier 1, Killian has the most race victories of anyone. Deflated Wee carries on his hunt for the championship here, but the gap is officially 23 points. Josh needs just 4 points and an 8th place finish next week in Japan to win the championship, regardless of where Deflated finishes. If Deflated fails to win next week in Japan, Josh is automatically champion, regardless of where he finishes. It very much is Josh's to lose. Some very strong drives out there. I'm going to give driver of the day to little Chaz. The fact that last week he was up there out of the points, I believe, and now fighting for podiums and pushing Josh to his limits. Very impressive stuff. Obviously, Deflated, special mention. 1010 deserves a huge mention as well. Those 2 Mercedes had strong drives as well as Padge finishing in P8. Plenty of impressive stuff happening tonight.